Hello everyone and welcome to our Max Sport My Motivation campaign. Our next guest is one of the greatest Gaelic footballers to ever play the game, and not only that, she's also made her mark on the AFL too. Cora Staunton, you are very welcome. How are you?
I'm good, Maria. Enjoyed lockdown, or it's near semi-lockdown at this stage now. Yeah, so home in Mayo, probably for just over 2 months now. So getting used to life being a bit different.
For someone who is obsessed with sport, how challenging has it been?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. Yeah, it's a bit strange, obviously, with no sport on TV and obviously no formal training, just training on my own, which is, yeah, it can be hard at times. But yeah, looking forward to the as of tomorrow night, AFL is back in Australia, so I'm looking forward to watching a few games, and obviously the announcement last week was Gaelic football coming back as well. So looking forward to getting back training with club in the next couple of weeks.
I think the announcements of all the different sports coming back has given everyone, well, sports fans anyway, a big lift and something to look forward to. But we take it back a little bit, Cora. It's been a bit of a roller coaster for you, really, because when the pandemic did set in and we kind of realised how serious it was and how much it was going to affect our lives, you were in Australia and there was decisions to be made. So just talk me through kind of the decision-making process, playing over there towards the end of the pandemic and then coming home. What was that like for you?
Yeah, obviously, for when it happened, really, we, wasn't really taken that serious over there. As in, we heard about the coronavirus, but didn't think it would have any effect. And I think it was around 6 we were in, and that's the first time we knew it was serious. We played the Adelaide Crows in our round 6 match, but that was no fans allowed. So that's the first time, and there was kind of rumours then about maybe the season not being finished. So obviously we played, the final series was brought forward and the group games were stopped. So we played Melbourne in the final series and we lost them on a Saturday evening, and then the next day, Sunday afternoon, the AFL, the women's season was cancelled and the men's season was postponed. So I suppose that was when you got a little bit worried. People were talking about trying to get home and flights would be very difficult, but I never felt really panicked, or I know Yvonne Bonner, who was with me, and the Giants didn't either. So yeah, we probably headed home maybe about 10 days after that. The club organised our flights and stuff. Obviously it was a bit strange going through Sydney Airport and Dublin Airport. It was a lot different what it normally would be like. But yeah, I think, the COVID-19 really hasn't hit Australia like it has anywhere else. I think Australia and New Zealand have been very lucky, and I know over there from talking to girls and talking to our coach, obviously AFL for the men is back tomorrow night, and then I know the club season over there is kicking off in the next kind of 3 weeks. So yeah, it was strange, but at the same time I never was worried about getting home, as the club always organised their flights for us.
So what does the future hold for you then, Cora, just in relation to the AFL? What are your plans and your hopes, really?
Yeah, I suppose a good question. I suppose with this, it's probably given me a little bit of time to think about it. Normally at this stage, if the pandemic hadn't hit, we'd have had sign and trade period. So you would have had to decide whether you're going to play next year. That obviously, with everything that's gone on, has been pushed out. So that's going to happen. It was announced there during the week, and that's going to happen kind of mid to late August. So I'll have to make a decision around then whether I'm going to go back for another season with the Giants. I know from talking to our coach before I went home, the option is there if I want to go back. It's just up to myself to decide whether I'll go back. So I was hoping to get obviously club football in with Carnacon and see how the body is and how the mind is, and but I'll probably have to make a decision probably a little bit quicker now. Not probably having played too much football with Carnacon, maybe a couple of matches depending on when we get started. So at the moment, I'm not kind of rushing into the decision. I'll see how the next couple of months are and how the body is, and if I have the motivation to go again for another year.
A lot of people have used the lockdown and the pandemic and just the layoff really from life to reflect on what's important to them and kind of learn to appreciate things more than they had in the past. Just with sport, Cora, do you think your relationship will change? Is it going to make you want to do it for longer, for more, or what are your thoughts on your relationship with sport?
Yeah, I think, obviously, when things are taken away from you and you can't do it, like, simple things like going to the GAA pitch and having a kickabout, or, going to club training and meeting up with, your teammates and who also are normally your friends as well. you know, that's kind of made you realise how important it is. You know, I suppose over my career, and I suppose even in the last kind of 13 months with my injury, wondering would I ever get back to play, or, you know, just even back to kind of play recreationally, you know, because the injury obviously was that bad. I think I've appreciated more in the last, you know, 13 or 14 months than probably I ever have before. So yeah, I do think it's no harm to have maybe the time, you know, the couple of months to reflect and look back and realise no matter what capacity you play sport, if it's at a high level or if it's at a recreational level, or if you're a volunteer or a coach or whatever you're doing in sport, we all realise how important it is for us socially and both physically and mentally. So, you know, that's what I've learned from it, you know, that I've been very lucky to be involved in it for so long. And certainly when, you know, my playing days are finished, I'll always stay involved in some capacity, whether that's coaching or volunteering or, you know, helping out in some way in the administration side of the club. You know, I'll continue to do that.
I don't doubt that at all, Cora. I can't imagine you without support in your life in some sort of way, shape or form. But like, Cora, when you think about what you've achieved and like going to the women's AFL and, you know, kind of you were the poster Irish girl really over there, and you kind of blazed a trail, and the amount of people that have already followed in your footsteps is phenomenal. Can you appreciate what you've done just for women's sport when you're living it in the moment, or do you think it'll take a bit of time, maybe in years to come, that when you sit back and go, oh yeah, I did that?
Yeah, I think when you're in the moment, it's very hard. You know, I just see myself, you know, as one of the girls and one of the players, and especially over there, you know, when you went over first, you're certainly at the bottom of the ladder and you had to work your way up. Yeah, at times, I suppose, you know, the biggest times are probably, you know, look at myself as a role model or maybe a trailblazer, whatever you want to call it, is, you know, when you get, you know, cards or letters or messages on social media from young girls and young boys as well, you know, maybe that has read your book or watched your documentary or in just general followed your sport. I think that's when you probably sit back and realise what you're doing. Or even, you know, I look at my niece and nephews now growing up, and, you know, when they're with me and people stop and talk to me, and this, you know, they might say something, oh God, you're famous, aren't you? And I'm like trying to explain to them, no, you know, I've just worked hard at something and I've been lucky, I've got a lot of rewards. But yeah, I suppose in time, I think it's like anything, you'll appreciate anything when it's gone, and you reflect on, you know, what you've achieved through sport when you eventually retire. But yes, there's at times, I suppose, you realise it, but when you're in the moment, all I'm trying to do at the moment is trying to keep myself fit and, you know, make myself better. I want to improve all the time, whether that's at, you know, in the gym, or if that's at running, or if that's at my skills. You know, I'm just trying to make the best of myself and do that for as long as I can.
So what have you been doing in the lockdown to try and stay fit and sharp and develop and improve?
Yeah, I suppose the biggest challenge for me I found in lockdown, because normally when I come back from Australia, I probably normally about 6-7 months over there, and I come back home, I'm straight into work, I'm straight into training, and then obviously you're doing other stuff outside of that, you know, whether it's, you know, coaching or going to do talks or medal presentations. I find I have so much time on my hands, which I'm not very good at, because I'm not one to sit down and watch TV or stuff like that. So I have to stop myself probably at the moment from overtraining. I have a gym set up in the garage, and, you know, I've a lot of equipment there. So, you know, if when you have more time in your hands, you're kind of saying to yourself, I'll go and do, you know, another session in the gym or something. So yeah, I've tried to do other stuff. You know, I'm doing a lot of walking and cycling and other exercise, rather than doing, you know, really following a program. Especially after, as I said, the year I've had where I've been doing rehab, which is very monotonous for, you know, probably 6-7 months of the year. So yeah, I'm trying to mix it up. I didn't probably realise how many beautiful locations and spots that we had even around my locality, and now that we can travel within Mayo, I've started to see places that I probably hadn't seen in years. And yeah, I've a couple of things that I plan to do over the next couple of weeks, whether that's climb Croagh Patrick again. And, you know, I know on Monday itself I went to visit John Patrick Head in Ballycastle, you know, which is beautiful, but I hadn't seen these places since, you know, I was a child.
So the injury that you mentioned, Cora, for anyone who's watching who isn't aware of how bad and serious it was, will you just talk us through the extent of the break?
Yeah, so I suppose it happened to me, obviously, playing a club game over there. I think it was my second club game that I played with a Sydney club over there. And I think it was in the second quarter, I had the ball and I was taking on someone. I went to sidestep and I was tackled. So yeah, I broke my tibia, my fibia. So I broke my tibia quite badly. It was a spiral fracture. So there was 2 breaks in it, but it was quite long. And my fibia had a break as well at the top. And then I had a break as well on my ankle. So it was 4 breaks altogether, which, wasn't ideal. So yeah, I had to obviously have emergency surgery pretty quickly when I was brought to hospital, just to straighten the leg again because it wasn't in the right position. And then I had surgery 2 days later in Sydney, where I had to get they call it an IM nail, which is just like a rod that goes from the bottom of your leg up to your knee, and just 5 screws put in as well. So that stays permanently in your leg, and that just basically acted as your bone while you're trying to recover, which meant a quicker recovery for me. I didn't have to be in a cast, and I was off crutches probably just after 2 weeks, and I started getting cycling on a stationary bike and swimming after 2 weeks. So it helped my recovery a lot quicker because of that. Obviously it was difficult to learn how to walk and learn how to jog were probably the 2 most difficult things. Again, probably walking was probably the most difficult out of them all.
And you got there, Cora. Like, not only did you just learn how to walk, you got back playing again at the highest level in the women's AFL. It's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, it is an achievement, but I suppose I just look at it. I was very lucky. I had people over in the Giants just set me down after 2 weeks. We had a meeting, my coach and our strength conditioning coach and physio, and we just sat in the office and said, what's the story? This is the plan. We can't be sure that you'll get back, but we'll try everything. And I just followed the plan from week 2, to when I got when I came home and then went back again. So yeah, probably from May to December I was following a plan, and whatever they told me to do, I'd done, and probably done a little bit extra on top of it. So yeah, it was possible, to do it. It took a lot of hard work. I was doing 6 days a week for the first kind of 5 months, probably about 30 hours a week. And then when I come home, I was probably down to about 22 hours a week of rehab. It's more mental than physical. Physically, your body do anything that your mind tells you. There's times your mind will struggle, and don't worry, there's plenty of times. I know in week 7 when I first attempted to run and it didn't go particularly well, and I had quite 4 or 5 days of quite a lot of pain where I couldn't probably walk properly at all, or I was back on crutches. But yeah, that's just mentally, you have to try and get over that and get, as they say, get back on the horse. And yeah, I managed it. It was tough. There was tough. There was plenty of dark days, but everything is possible once you put your mind to it.
And mentally then, Cora, you mentioned that it was tough, like those tough days, and like there'll be plenty of people watching on here who are having tough days and they don't have the motivation to get up and get out and do something, let alone go off and do 30 hours rehab a week. Like, how do you get through those moments when you just don't want to do it?
Yeah, I just think there was, I'll be honest, there was days where I felt like I wasn't far off having a breakdown. You're living in a small apartment in Sydney, and you're only out as probably going to the club, and you have people around you, but nobody really fully understands what you're going through. And the hard days, the dark days, they're the probably ones that you find hard to get up and motivate yourself. Obviously you might sit on the couch and cry for a half an hour because things aren't going right, but you'd always say to yourself, the only way I'm going to get better or feel better is by going and doing my program or doing my rehab. And as I said, I was very lucky. There was good people that always pushed me and knew when to push me and probably not to push me as well. Because there was days I go into the club and I just say to my strength conditioning coach, I'm not having a good day today, and she'd know what to do. We'd still do our program, but she'd know what to say, and probably at times was maybe like a psychologist to me, and helped me get through that stages. But yeah, you'll have plenty of dark days, and there'll be days you won't feel like doing anything, and if you can't do it, that's fine, but just make sure the next day that you try and get up and do something. So yeah, I think it's surround yourself with good people, but also once you get out and do it, it's the benefits that you have both physically and mentally. You feel so much better, and things get back to normal then.
Cora, the thing that always strikes me when I'm thinking about you is, the injury aside, just the longevity of your career. How did you and do you stay at the top level of your game for such a long time?
Yeah, it's a difficult one to answer.
If it was easy, everybody would do it.
No, but I just every year just kind of rolls into one. I suppose for me, it's to keep going. I think once I finish, and you know, probably if I took 6 months off or I took 3 months off and stopped training, I think I'd find it very hard to get back up to top level of fitness again. But once I keep myself ticking over, and I suppose it became just the norm because of my club, Carnacon. It would have been that we play Mayo up to August, September, or how far, whenever we get knocked out. And then Carnacon would always come in straight away. And because we were successful and always were winning county titles and probably Connacht titles and always competing at the All-Ireland series, it was probably the earliest was November-ish before I finished, you know, training hard with Carnacon. And then that's when pre-season would normally start for Mayo and you'd be back into it. So it just ended up being a period that you just kept following every year, and then you might give yourself a couple of weeks off over Christmas and January come along again and you keep going. Like, I don't do anything out of the ordinary. I probably overtrain. I certainly do overtrain. They've told me in Australia that they find it hard to get me off the pitch at times, but that's what I'm used to, my body's used to. So I think that, yeah, it's just, I really enjoy it. I enjoy pushing my body to the limits, and I enjoy a challenge, whatever the challenge is.
So with so much uncertainty really in the world still, and like you're here now and we're talking about football coming back, would you like another crack with Mayo?
Oh no, certainly. I know my Mayo days. I'm 2 years retired from Mayo, so I know that's certainly done. My time there is done. I'll enjoy playing obviously with Carnacon for we won't say how long, maybe another year or two, or however
I'd
long.
say a lot longer than that now somehow.
They're Mayo have been doing very well in the last 2 years, and there's a lot of young talent coming through there. So yeah, I know I'll stick with Carnacon, and I'll help them out for a little while more. But certainly, I had, probably when you look back at it, I had 23 or 24 years playing with Mayo. It was quite a long time. So and I was very blessed. I played in some brilliant teams, and we won All Irelands, and and that's that as a footballer, that's all you want to do is climb the steps of the Hogan stand and lift the trophy. And lucky enough, I've got to do that. And I know a lot of sports people don't get that to do. So I know I've been blessed to be involved in great teams.
It's quite nice to have a few chapters, isn't it? Like to have the club and the county and the AFL as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and when you look back and reflect, and I have to probably put it all back to the club. When you're thinking back and people are asking you where it all started, and I think I've done an interview recently. Someone asked me that, and I talked about Mosney and community games, and when I was 10 years of age and not being very happy after we lost in All Ireland. I think that's where it all came from. All that drive and wanting to try and be the best and succeed and be on great teams. And I suppose Carnacon has been the foundation for a long time, because we've just were blessed that we had a brilliant bunch of girls come along and they're really driven. And when you look back at it, it's probably crazy to think that we've won 21 county titles in 22 years. It's when you even say them figures, it's madness. And to even win 6 All Irelands and whatever we've won in Connacht, I think that's where the basis of where it comes from, and the coaching that we got when we were very young. And I think we're a very driven bunch down there, and we still are, and still hope to achieve a little bit more.
I was about to say, you're certainly not done yet anyway, Cora. And look, on a very positive note, we are looking ahead to Championship now. I know it's October, it's still a little bit away. But when it comes to analysis, it's another thing that you excel in as well. And Mayo is the topic of conversation regularly when we talk about the Sam Maguire. Do you think that like a championship starting in October, possibly running on until early 2021, do you think just the different setup this year, it might suit Mayo and that they might get to that Holy Grail?
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very strange championship. Obviously, we don't know the format. I was reading something this morning that the GAA hope to announce the format maybe in the next month. It'll be very interesting whether it'll be knockout or not. I don't know if it's knockout. It's going to be very difficult. I think we've seen Mayo probably in the past. They've come through the back door on a number of occasions, but yeah, it's been a very, very strange year. So who's to say, something strange might happen. Mayo still certainly have the talent there. They've certainly got the key players that, they're in the, probably with Dublin and Kerry, Mayo are up there in the top 3 teams. And You know, I still think that their team is good enough to get there, and you know, with a bit of luck on All Ireland final day to go over the line. So who knows? Yeah, it could be a very, very strange championship if we see an All Ireland final in January, February. But you know, the Mayo lads and the Mayo people here and Mayo fans wouldn't certainly mind, you know, how they win it. You know, they've had so much heartache, you know, in the last decade really, and it's been very tough on them. And there's some players there that you just love to see win All Ireland. You know, the likes of Keith Higgins, Colin Boyle, David Clark, Lee Keegan, just to name a few. They've, you know, put their heart and souls and their lives into it over the last 10 years and have been very, very unlucky.
It would nearly almost be fitting if it was this year, like such a strange year when everything is upside down. If it was the year that Mayo got there, it would be highly entertaining anyway.
It'd be highly entertaining. God love the officials in Croke Park if Croke Park can't be full on All Ireland final day and you only can have 21,000 or 42 or depending on the social distancing at the time, because if Mayo get to an All Ireland, you know, trying to keep fans away, I think it'd be very difficult. You can imagine if Mayo won an All Ireland and, you know, it wasn't 50 or 60,000 Mayo people in Croke Park, it'd be very, very strange. But yeah, we'd certainly take it anyway down here because, as I said, we've had so much heartbreak over the last decade. And
so just finally, Cora, so we're a few weeks' time, we might get a decision from you then on your future and what you'll be doing in the next season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it'll be August time. You know, I'll probably make a decision probably early August if the sign and trade period is kind of mid to late August. Yeah, I'll have a few chats to the people in Australia and see. You know, we're in constant contact anyway through you know, Zoom and social media. So yeah, I'll make a decision. I'm looking forward to getting back, having a kickabout with Carnacun, because obviously last year I played very little with my broken leg. You know, played a few minutes of cameo appearance here and there, but yeah, it's probably 18 months since I've probably played football properly. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out and playing a couple of games with them and, you know, pushing on to try and win a county title again this year. So yeah, we'll see how the body and mind are over the next couple of months, and the decision will be made then.
Yeah, and I'm sure sports fans everywhere are looking forward to seeing you back in action as well. Cora Staunton, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks a million, Marie.